It was supposed to be my one day off after a long week of night shifts. Instead of resting, I spent the whole morning outside cutting through their jungle of a lawn and then crawling around the flooded basement trying to stop a leak. Not once did anyone say thanks. When I finally dragged myself into a chair, completely drained, my dad shoved his plate away, gave me this disgusted once-over, and sneered, "You're still mooching off us like a useless kid. I'm embarrassed to even call you my son. You'll never do anything with your life." My mom didn't even flinch. Eyes locked on her phone like I wasn't even there. I didn't blow up, didn't even speak. I just stood up, walked out the front door, and kept going. 5 years passed before I heard from them again, 16 texts in a row, all desperate. Funny thing is, if you'd asked me a week ago if I'd ever be venting on Reddit about my dad calling me worthless, I'd have laughed. But here we are. I guess I just need a place to let it all out. I'm still wound up and I really don't want to bother my friends again. So yeah, this is kind of a rant, not gonna lie. But it's also about something small that won't leave my head. You ever notice a weird moment that just stays with you? Like, I'm out there mowing, sky's dull gray, everything wet and heavy, and I glance up and there's my dad at the window, arms crossed, just watching. Not waving. Not nodding. Just staring like he's waiting for me to screw up. Like he's got nothing better to do but judge. Anyway, backstory. I've been staying at my parents' place for a while, not forever, just until I get a place lined up. Working nights, barely home, but when I am, I try to help where I can. The house? It's rough. Not hoarder level bad, but you can tell they've stopped caring. Grass up to my knees. Behind the shed, weeds growing taller than me. Basement smells like a wet dog and there's always some leak or puddle that needs handling. I know money's tight for them and believe me, it's not like I'm swimming in cash either, but I know how to fix stuff. I can mow. I can patch leaks. I can keep things from completely falling apart. That's just what you do, right? At least, that's what I thought. But no matter what I did, the vibe in that house was always off. My mom barely speaks to me. Always glued to her phone, scrolling like it's her full-time job. My dad, Franklin, he's the classic nothing you do is ever good enough guy, especially when it comes to me. He's got this whole persona like he was the perfect son back in his day. Bought a house young, married early, never let anyone help him, he loves to remind people. So I guess watching me take a different route just pisses him off. Maybe I'm not leveling up fast enough by his standards. That's what he always says. But it's not like I'm some deadbeat. I pay rent. I cover my own groceries. I don't ask them for a dime. I help out more than my sisters ever bothered to, but somehow none of that counts. I can see it in his face every time I walk by. It's like he's waiting for me to mess up so he can say, "Told you so." Anyway, that morning was supposed to be my chance to sleep in, but I was already up by 9, dragging the mower across knee-high grass. I was soaked within minutes, it looked like no one had touched the lawn in months. When I finished, he was right there, already criticizing. Said I missed a patch by the fence. I told him I'd fix it later, just needed some food first. He walked away shaking his head like I just committed some crime. I came inside, my mom was in the kitchen, still glued to her screen, didn't say a word. I grabbed a granola bar and went straight to the basement to deal with that leak. It was worse than I expected. Water pooling in the corner, cold and slimy. The old towels they'd stuffed down there were completely soaked. I started dragging boxes out of the way, mostly junk. Holiday stuff, broken tools. Upstairs, I could hear my dad on the phone. Loud on purpose, of course. Talking about how nobody takes initiative anymore. How kids today are soft. I didn't know if he meant me or just anyone under 35, but I had my guess. After 3 straight hours of crawling around with duct tape and half-used sealants, I finally got the leak down to a slow drip instead of a puddle. My hands were freezing. My knees were raw. I stumbled upstairs, starving, sore, and hoping to sit for 5 seconds. Mom was microwaving leftovers. Said nothing, just put a plate on the table like I was invisible. I sat. Dad sat. 2 seconds of silence. Then he shoved his plate aside and stared me down. Not angry. Just mean. Cold. He said, "Still here, huh?" I looked at him, not sure what to say. And then it came. The speech. He called me a failure. Said I was a leech. That he was ashamed of me. That I'd never be anything. Just like that. Like I wasn't even human. My mom didn't even blink, still scrolling. It wasn't even a fight. It was just him unloading. I asked, "So what, you want me gone?" He shrugged. At first, I wasn't even mad. Just tired. But then he walked past me and bumped my shoulder like I was in his way. And something in me snapped. I stood up, slung my backpack over my shoulder, slapped my water bottle on the table, and walked out the front door. Mom didn't say a word. Dad muttered something about how real men don't run. I slammed the door behind me. Hard. So yeah, I just left. No idea where I was going. Just started walking. Only had my phone, wallet, and charger on me. I was done. And I know some people will say that's dramatic, but I've spent months fixing their messes, covering bills when they couldn't, and being told I'm not enough. Everyone knows my dad's a hard ass. He thinks yelling makes you strong. Thinks being cruel builds character. That if he's rough enough, I'll suddenly become some big shot CEO. That stuff doesn't work on me. It never has. It just makes me want to run. I could have yelled back. Could have thrown something. But walking away? That hit harder. Left him with the broken house and the silence. Left them both to deal with it all. I'm not going back. Not even for my stuff. I texted my cousin, gonna stay with him for a while. But I'm not telling my parents where I'm at. Not this time. So yeah, that was my only day off this week. Happy Saturday to me. And I mean it, I'm done being the family handyman. Done cleaning up their chaos and getting nothing in return. I don't really know what's coming next, but I can tell you one thing for sure, I'm not going back. Not after the way that went down. If anyone out there's got tips for dealing with parents who act like giving you a shred of credit would kill them, I'm all ears. But honestly, this is more about getting it off my chest. Next time they want that basement fixed, they can crawl down there and figure it out themselves. Update 1. So yeah, last time I posted, I had just walked out of my parents' place after my dad completely unloaded on me right after I spent my entire morning fixing their house. And when I say I wasn't coming back, I meant it. I didn't even swing by to grab my charger. Just bought a cheap replacement at some gas station. Didn't care. I ended up crashing at my cousin Tyler's place. We're not super close or anything, but he's a laid-back guy. Didn't make a big deal when I showed up with all my stuff jammed into a garbage bag. I didn't bother telling my parents where I went. Didn't block them either, just muted the whole family thread. And honestly, there was something really freeing about waking up in a place where no one's watching your every move. Where I didn't have to brace for judgment over a dirty spoon left in the sink. That first week? Radio silence. I figured maybe that was it. Maybe they just pretend I never existed, which, let's be real, is kind of my mom's specialty. She never likes to talk about stuff, especially when it gets messy. As for my dad, Franklin, he's the type who'd rather pretend a blow-up never happened if things didn't go his way. I figured they'd get a neighbor to deal with the yard or call someone for the basement leak. That was wishful thinking. Pretty soon I started getting these half-hearted texts. Stuff like, when are you coming to get your things, or the lawn's getting long again, or you've got mail here. I ignored all of it. I didn't owe them an explanation. Then my Aunt Evelyn called. She's not really up to date on the whole situation, but she's always trying to play peacemaker. She goes, your mom said you just walked out. What happened? You know your dad's not doing so great, maybe you could just stop by. I told her plain and simple I don't live there. It's not my job anymore. Not gonna lie, saying that felt good. Probably petty. But after years of doing everything for them without so much as a thank you, I wasn't about to drop everything and come running now that things were falling apart. Then I started thinking about all the stuff I'd set up for them. Auto pay for their electric bill. The plumber's number saved in my phone. The garage code. Even the Wi-Fi password was something I made up because my dad couldn't remember numbers to save his life. So I started taking it all back. One step at a time. I took my name off every account I could. Utility bills. Contact lists. I even removed my rewards card from the grocery app. Then I changed the Wi-Fi password to something random and didn't share it with anyone. Totally legal. All of it's mine. My accounts, my info. I had every right to pull out. I left the shared family calendar. Exited the group chat with the neighbors where we coordinated snow removal and trash day. Even texted the guy who used to plow the driveway and told him to send future invoices directly to my dad from now on. Let them handle it. That's when the calls picked up. My phone started blowing up. My dad, who never leaves voicemails, left one telling me I needed to be a man and step up. Said the house wasn't going to run itself and that I couldn't hide from my responsibilities forever. My mom texted something softer. Asked me to please come check on the water heater. Said she didn't know who else to ask. But I didn't reply. Because I knew exactly what this was. They didn't want me back. Not really. They just wanted someone to fix their mess and keep things running without having to say thank you. And then they'd go right back to pretending I was a disappointment. Not happening. Thing is, my dad's not dumb. He knows when he's in over his head. He just refuses to admit it. He's always been that guy constantly reminding everyone how tough his own father was on him. Says that's why he pushes me so hard. Except it's not tough love. It's just being a jerk. And it never made me want to do better, it just made me want to get as far away from him as possible. My mom? She's no better. She ignores every issue until it explodes, hoping someone else will step in and fix it. That's why the house looks like it does. They both just stop trying. Waiting for things to magically take care of themselves. Weeks passed. Then my cousin mentioned that one of the neighbors had complained about their yard to the HOA. Said the grass was totally out of control. I couldn't help but laugh. Right on cue, I get this all-caps email from my dad: "You need to take care of your responsibilities. Stop making US look bad." That was it for me. I replied, short and direct, "I don't live there. It's not my responsibility. And you made it clear how you feel about me, so deal with it." Just to be safe, I CC'd my aunt and my other cousin so no one could twist my words into "he abandoned us for no reason." He fired back with some garbage about blood being thicker than water and how I was embarrassing him in front of the family. I left him on read. Then things got messy. My mom started calling, crying, which she never does. Said the basement was flooding again and the plumber wanted cash up front. Said they couldn't cover it. I told her, "You'll have to find someone else." Sorry. I wasn't rude, but I didn't bend either. She hung up. The next day, she texted me this long, emotional message about how I used to be a good son and how she didn't understand what changed. I didn't reply. Then my dad tried a different tactic. He went to my cousin and spun this whole story about how I'd abandoned them, how I was punishing them for no reason, how he was concerned about my mental health. Yeah, okay. My cousin shrugged and told him I was fine. I could tell my dad was really starting to lose it, not because he cared, but because he couldn't control the story anymore. People were starting to see that maybe the problem wasn't me. Didn't change much though. My family still just gossiped and moved on. Part of me did start feeling a little off, not guilt exactly, but that weird itch of what if the house actually collapses? But then I remembered I kept that place running for years and it never mattered to them. They just expected it. Took it for granted. So I went further. Found the backup garage remote in Tyler's junk drawer. Tossed it in the trash. Blocked my parents on Venmo. Called the insurance company to make sure I wasn't listed on anything. The last thing I needed was to be stuck paying for some disaster I didn't cause. I made sure that every repair, every payment, every responsibility now fell squarely on them. No more safety net. The kicker? My aunt told me she saw my dad mowing the lawn himself one afternoon, shirt drenched in sweat, grumbling the whole time. Meanwhile, my mom had to ask the neighbor's teenage son to help her reconnect to the Wi-Fi because her phone wouldn't stay online. And honestly, that's the point. Yeah, it's petty. I won't pretend it's not. But I'm not doing it out of spite, I'm doing it because for once, I'm making sure they deal with the consequences of how they treated me. They built that house of dysfunction. Let them live in it. Weeds and all. Honestly, I still don't know exactly what's coming next. And I'm not sitting around plotting some kind of movie-style revenge. Just not being their doormat anymore? That's enough for me. But let's be real, if they try to rope me back in, I'm not above making it uncomfortable for them. If they want to throw punches, I've got no problem swinging back harder. So yeah, that's where things are at right now. I've stopped picking up their calls entirely. I even set up a filter that sends all their emails straight into a folder I don't bother checking. Out of sight, out of mind. It's not my mess anymore. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. If you've ever had parents like this, ones who only notice you when they need something, let me know what you did. Because I'm not going back. Not to fix a leaky pipe. Not to cut the grass. Not for anything. They're on their own now. Update 2. Okay, so this is getting kind of crazy. I figured by now the drama would have fizzled out, but nope. My family doesn't know how to just talk things out. Everything has to turn into some emotionally chaotic circus. If you've been following along, you know I cut ties. I walked away. Made sure I wasn't listed on any bills, disconnected my logins, and removed myself from anything that tied me to their house. Thought that'd be the end of it. Spoiler, it wasn't. The whole thing kicked off again with a text from my cousin Ruben. Not someone I talk to often. He's just one of those background family members you only see at weddings. He sends me this message like, "Hey man, what's going on at your parents' place? They're saying you bailed on them and now everything's falling apart. They're buried in bills." I just wrote back, "That's called being an adult," and left it at that. Didn't even blink. But then it snowballed. Out of nowhere, I start getting messages from relatives I haven't heard from in years, people who only crawl out of the woodwork when there's drama to chew on. Aunt Evelyn again, of course. She texts me, "I heard your parents' house is in rough shape. Why can't you just help them out? You know how your dad is. He's stubborn." I didn't even bother answering that one. Then I start hearing that my mom and dad are telling everyone I just up and abandoned them. That I'm refusing to help even with urgent stuff like flooding. That the city's been sending letters about the state of the lawn, the water issues, you name it. They're painting me as this heartless villain who ditched his poor, helpless parents. My dad's got this way of twisting everything. He can't admit when he's wrong, so he makes sure someone else takes the blame. I've seen him do it to his own siblings, now it's my turn. My mom texts me one morning saying, "You don't know how much pressure your father's under. You're making it worse." I replied, "You both made it clear I wasn't wanted. I moved out. End of story." She fires back a row of crying emojis like that's supposed to change my mind. Meanwhile, Tyler, my cousin, the one I'm staying with, tells me my dad called him up pretending to be worried about me. Starts the call asking if I'm okay, then immediately launches into a rant about how I'm irresponsible and left them high and dry. Tyler just shut him down. Said, Caleb's fine. Maybe talk to him instead of talking about him. Click. My dad hung up. A few days later, I get a letter from some insurance company addressed to me but sent to my parents' place. At first, I was like, what the hell? Then it hit me. Years ago, there was a water damage claim and I was the one who called it in. My name got attached to the paperwork. So I called them up, told them flat out I don't live there anymore. Asked to be removed from anything with my name on it. They were chill about it but warned me that if there's still an active claim, I might get more calls. I blocked the number just to be safe. That's when I realized my dad wasn't just trying to guilt-trip me anymore. He was trying to offload real responsibility. Legal stuff. I get this email from him, all formal and stiff, claiming I need to fulfill my obligations as a former resident and restore the property to order. Dude. What? I replied, short and sharp, you kicked me out. I'm not on the deed. I'm not on the bills. I'm not responsible. Stop contacting me. I CC'd my aunt and cousin again just to make sure there were witnesses. Then he responds with some wild bluff, says he might seek compensation for damages if I don't rectify the situation. I actually laughed out loud. I never signed a single document tying me to that house in any legal way. He's just trying to scare me. Still, I wasn't taking chances. I went back through every old message, every email, and scrubbed out any trace of my personal info, bank details, account numbers, repair contacts, even dumb stuff like saved passwords. I messaged Nancy, the neighbor who used to help with our mail, and gave her a heads up. Told her straight up, if anyone says I still live there, they're lying. Just so you know. She said my dad had already been asking about my stuff. She told him she hadn't seen me. That's when the real-world consequences started hitting them. Aunt Evelyn tells me the city left an actual notice on their door about the lawn and basement flooding. And get this, my dad tried to blame me. Told the city I was still living there and that it was my job to handle upkeep. City officials weren't buying it. They just looked him dead in the eye and said, it's your property, sir. Then my mom left me a voicemail sounding like she was barely holding it together. Said, we can't afford the fines. Can't you please just come mow the lawn one more time? Just this once. Delete. Next, my dad tries another stunt. Sends this long, dramatic email to our extended family group chat, me, cousins, aunts, everyone. Starts preaching about how family sticks together and how some people, aka me, have forgotten what loyalty means. Says the house is falling apart because of neglect. I didn't let that slide. I replied publicly, let's be real. I spent years fixing everything in that house for free. Never once got a thank you. Just got told I was a disappointment. You want to talk about neglect? Try ignoring your own kid for 2 decades and see how that turns out. Then I laid it all out. Every time I fixed a leak. Every time I covered a bill. Every morning I got up early to mow the lawn before work while getting called lazy in the same breath. And how every single time all I got in return was a grunt, a shrug, or some insult. I ended it with, I'm done. Don't ask me again. And if anyone tries to guilt me, I'll block you on the spot. As expected, that didn't go over well. My dad fired back, calling me disrespectful, saying I was airing dirty laundry and making everything worse. Aunt Evelyn tried to jump in, doing her whole, can't we all just come together, thing. No thanks. Then the fines from the city actually started coming in and my parents hit panic mode. My mom tried to get one of my cousins to help out. He said he was busy. Dad tried to pay the neighbor's teenage son to mow the lawn. Kid told him he had stuff going on. Which is hilarious because I know that kid, he's been playing Fortnite for 10 hours a day for 4 years. Nobody wants to deal with my dad. He's burned too many bridges. The final straw? He tried to get me to sign paperwork for the basement insurance claim. Said it was just so the process can move forward. Nope. I told him flat out, you figure it out. I'm not signing a damn thing. I'm not cleaning up your disaster. That's what I told him. He didn't like that, called me up and immediately started yelling. I hung up without a word. He called again. Straight to voicemail. A couple of days later, I got a text, full caps rage. You're tearing this family apart. I hope you're happy. I muted the thread. That's all the energy they're getting. At this point, they've got no one. The house is a mess, the bills are stacking up and the people they used to rely on. Gone. And they can't pin it on me anymore. I made sure of that. I know how my dad thinks, like if he just shouts loud enough or spins his version of the story to enough relatives, someone will ride in and fix everything. But not this time. This time, the only person coming to the rescue is the one looking at him in the mirror. And truthfully, I don't feel even a little bit bad about that. If anything, I wish I had walked away sooner. I don't know what their next move is going to be, but whatever it is, they won't be dragging me back into their mess. If they try to throw me under the bus again, I'll make damn sure it runs them over first and keeps driving. If you've ever dealt with parents like this, you understand. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing the game and leave them to sit in the mess they made. We'll see what happens next, but I'm not holding my breath for some heartfelt apology. Final update. It's been 4 years. Honestly, I never planned to post anything else about this. I figured it was over. I walked away. They got exactly what they deserved. I moved on. Built a solid life for myself. End of story. Turns out, not quite. Last week, I woke up to chaos. My phone, my old number that I barely use anymore, was blowing up. 9 missed calls. A pile of texts. Voicemails. All from names I hadn't seen pop up in years. Not just my parents. Aunts. Cousins. Even Nancy, that neighbor I barely remembered. The funny part? That number isn't even tied to my main phone anymore. I kept it active for old banking logins, 2-factor codes, stuff like that. It rarely rings. Nobody uses it. But apparently, someone lit the family group chat on fire and everyone suddenly decided this was the day to blow up my phone. What made it extra strange was reading the messages in order. You could feel the panic building. It starts with a basic message from my dad, Franklin. Simple. Need to talk about the house. I laughed. Of course. Then one from my mom, Lillian, saying it's urgent and could I please call her when I have a moment. Then, boom, a wall of missed calls, including one at 3:18 a.m. There's this huge text block from Aunt Evelyn talking about foreclosure, the city threatening to board the place up, and how my parents are drowning. She said it's time for the family to step up. I won't lie, I was curious. So I listened to the voicemails. My mom's voice was shaking. She said, "We need your help. We don't know what to do. Please call us back." My dad's was just raspy breathing, then a mutter, "Call me Caleb. We need to talk." Then came one from my cousin Franklin Jr. Yes, there's actually a junior who never liked me. He said if you don't do something, the house is gone. Everyone's gonna know this was your fault. Nice try, man. As I pieced it all together from the panic-fueled texts, here's what I figured out: the house is in real trouble. Not just cluttered or dirty, but falling apart. Serious water damage. Roof issues. Property taxes unpaid. The banks had enough. My dad apparently tried to fix everything himself, big surprise, and probably made it worse. My mom, as usual, ignored the mail until it buried her. Basement's flooding again. The roof's leaking. And now, the city has issued its final warning. I don't know if they genuinely believed I'd show up with a wrench and a blank check, but no. I didn't respond to any of it. Didn't call. Didn't text. Just took screenshots of everything, saved the voicemails, and blocked every number for good measure. I don't feel guilty. Some folks will say I'm being cold, but if you followed this mess, you get it. I spent years patching every hole, covering every expense, trying to keep that place livable while getting zero credit. And the one time I needed something, just a little decency, they kicked me to the curb. Now I'm suddenly the only person who can save them? Nope. A few people in the comments of my last update asked why my dad is like this, why he couldn't just be normal. The truth? He's always had to be in control. Had to be the alpha. Could never show weakness. He was the oldest sibling. Got dumped on by his dad. So he passed that weight down to me. I think when I finally left and didn't come crawling back, it short-circuited his worldview. He thought I'd always be there. Thought that's what family meant, that you stay no matter how bad they treat you. But I'm not playing that role anymore. Once I was out of the picture, the whole family started imploding. Tyler sent me screenshots from the family group chat, my dad blaming my mom for not paying the bills, my mom blaming my dad for never asking for help, and my aunt blaming both of them for pushing me away. It was a circus. Everyone shouting, nobody helping. Classic. No one wanted to actually fix anything. They just wanted someone to point the finger at. And with me out of reach, they turned on each other. A few relatives tried to guilt-trip me. You're really gonna let your parents lose their home? Yes. I am. Because I'm not their lifeline anymore. It's wild how fast people forget. One cousin even said, at least talk to your mom. She wasn't as bad as your dad. Really? I remember every time she sat there scrolling through her phone while he ripped me apart. Not once did she speak up for me. Not once. Now that it's inconvenient, I'm supposed to pretend she was some innocent bystander? Nah. I didn't even tell my friends about the messages for a couple of days. I was busy. Actually living my life. Peacefully. When I finally did mention it, they all said the same thing. One friend told me if you go back now, they'll never respect your boundaries again. Another said you've already done way more than most people would. Let them figure it out. I agreed. I don't know what's going to happen to that house, and frankly, I don't care. If the city takes it and they have to downsize? Good. Maybe they'll finally get a taste of what it's like to be left behind. But I doubt it. People like my dad don't change. They just find someone new to blame. And I know some folks reading this might be waiting for a neat ending, a moment of redemption, or some unexpected twist. But that's not how this goes. I left. I stayed gone. When they tried to suck me back in, I slammed the door again, this time harder. The best revenge isn't screaming or some clever plot. It's just not showing up anymore. It's choosing peace over pain. Choosing yourself over their chaos. I'm not the bad guy. I'm just done. And if you're reading this thinking you owe your family everything just because you share some DNA, let me be clear, you don't. What you owe is to yourself. You owe yourself peace. That's it. No more updates. Whatever happens next, it's on them.